Good evening, everyone. My name is Shomil Gupta-Bhaya, and I am a MikroTik certified trainer. And today, I would like to present to you scripting with MikroTik. Now, every time I come to MUM, I've been here a couple of times before, I try to present something new features, etc., something which hasn't been circulating around much. But today I have for you something that is very old. It has been in the MikroTik industry since the beginning. And many experts have given presentations on this. But I wanted some kind of a different approach to it. Because scripting can be a little complicated to those who come from a non-programming or a non-coding background, such as myself. Like, for example, my brother who will be giving a presentation next, he's from a programming background, and when I showed him this script, by the end of the first day, he was doing better scripts than me, right? So, I will take, we can say, a little class about scripting. So the experts will pardon me for sticking to the basics and not going to very deep into the subject, okay? Right. What is scripting? A scripting language is a programming language that employs a high-level construct to interpret and execute one command at a time. In general, scripting languages are easier to learn and faster to code than the more complicated ones like C, C++, which are structured and compiled. The second is scripts are programs written for a special runtime environment that automate the execution of tasks. Now, day to day, you have to perform many tasks in your network, basically on the router, right? What happens if you can automate some of them? It becomes easy for you. If you do not automate, they can be alternately executed by one-to-one by a human operator, okay? And they are distinct from the core code of the application. So in case of even MikroTik scripting, the core code of the router OS is slightly different from that of scripting, because they are usually written in a different language, and they are often created or at least modified by the end user. So scripting is the language meant for us, the end users, to automate some functions in our network, that is, to automate some tasks and functions in the router itself. Why do we need scripting? Again, I'm repeating, automation of tasks based on events. Not only based on events, the events can be triggered automatically, like a system reboot, events like a day-to-day backup, right? Automation of this. That would otherwise require a person sitting in front of the system 24/7, right? Now, repetition of regular tasks, like creating same configuration for multiple devices. Say you have 50 devices and you want the same configuration for all of those devices. So instead of doing them one by one, you can use scripting to automate the task. And batch creation and processing of lists, addresses, etc. Like adding multiple addresses in a firewall address list, right? And obviously, the most important of all, monitoring the router. Is the gateway up? How much traffic is being transmitted, received, etc. Now, we'll start with basic scripting. A simple command. You know, most of us have used the terminal window and used some commands from time to time. And the basic commands is just the simple one that you write in the terminal window. For example, the first one, IP address print or /interface ethernet set ether1 disabled is equal to yes, right? These are the basic commands, okay? Now, there is a syntax for all programming languages. So in this case, we also have to follow some default syntax for this. For example, when you start a command, often you have to start it with a colon and end the command with a semicolon. Okay? Next, variable names. We use variables for various tasks, and when we set the variable, we just write the variable name, but when we use it, like printing the data of the variable, printing the value of that variable, we have to use a $sign. So these are a few syntax that we need to keep in mind when we are doing the scripting, okay? Then we have there are operators that we use. There are arithmetic operators, addition, subtraction, binary addition, binary subtraction, etc. And relational operators, for example, is equal to, greater than, is equal to. Is A, if A is greater than equal to B, then do a task, otherwise do something else, like that. Okay, then we have and or operators. Okay, so A and B both have to be true, then some task will be performed. Or A or B, any one has to be true to enable a task to be performed, like this. Okay, and finally we have got variables that we were just talking about. Variables are of two types. Rather, variables over here have two types of scopes. The first one is global and the second one is local. Now global variables are the ones which can be accessed by all the scripts. That means once you declare a variable, a global variable in one of the scripts, it can be used in another script too. Okay? The global variables can be found in a menu, sub-menu that we'll come back to later called environment. Okay, you can find all the variables over there. And a local variable is accessible only within the current scope. That means if you're writing a script and declaring a local variable in front of it, at the top of it, then that variable can be accessed by only that particular script. Okay? Now variable declaration, as I was starting, we should always declare the variable at the start of the script for ease of understanding the script later on, and we should always keep the scope of the variables in mind. Okay, so if we try to access a local variable in another script than it was declared in, we will not able to find the value. There it will return an error, right? And the basics, other basics, declaring a variable like this, the colon global has to be there. This is the command, and var is the variable name. Then if you want to print the value of the variable in a console or send it in an email, we can use this command, put $var. See, we're using $var over here, not simply the name, because whenever we want to use a value, we have to use the $ mark in front of the name. Okay. Then we have another command, log. Often we want to log something into the log window. It can be either stored in your disk or in the memory or sent via remote into another server. So the command for that is log, then the topic. So if you forget the topic, you will not get it in the log message. So the syntax will be log, then either info, warning, error, anything, any topic we want, and then within the quotations. Okay? And finally, we have got comments. Now comments are very important in a script, because after you make a script, say you are opening it and want to modify it, say 5 days later, and then you forget what the commands did. What was for what. So to remember or to understand the script properly, we always need some comments. Comments are declared with a hash in the beginning of the line. So even if you're writing a command and there is a hash at the beginning of the line, the router will treat it as a comment and not execute that particular line. Okay? Finally, we have the parentheses or the brackets. Now each type of bracket has its own function. The second bracket, that is the curly braces, defines scope. The third bracket, that is a straight one, defines command substitution. And the third one is for grouping. So for the first one, the scope, so the command substitution means whenever we want to use any command inside another command, we will use this bracket, okay? And the last one, sub-expression or grouping, is just, for example, see, $a minus $b. Or we have a more complicated, maybe we have a more complicated example. A plus B in first brackets, then again we start another bracket outside of it, and again divided by C, like that, okay? Right, structuring a script. Now, this is very important when we're just going about the mechanics of the script right now. So, while we structure the script, we always try to declare the variables at the top. Okay? The first part of writing the script is declaration of the variables. Then we try to set any values if we want to. Say initialize. Say I want to set the value of variable A to 1 and B to 2. And then do some other jobs with it. So the second part comes of setting or initializing the variables. And finally comes the body. Here I will mention that algorithms are very important, that is writing in plain language the steps of the script or the program. So when we start out writing a script, we should always write step by step what we want to do with it, just in plain language. Then it becomes easier for you to code the whole script, and then again, if you have any problems with it, it will make the troubleshooting easy. So first, declaration variables, then setting of default values, and then the body of the script. Like in this example we have. The example is a DDNS example. It's incomplete and it's a little complicated. So just the example, here's the declarations. Then we have the whole body of it. We'll go to it later on. Now basic scripting examples. First, the easiest, the most basic one is regular backup schedules. Now everybody has got some routers or the other running, and those configurations are very important for you, okay? So if by chance something happens to that router and you do not get it back, the configurations back, it is very tedious to do the whole configuration over and over again. So we always take backups. Now backups are by default stored inside the files menu of a MikroTik router. So it's there in the disk. If any problem happens to the disk, then you will lose the backup files. So it is always good to export, actually. Export means keep the backup files or archive it anywhere else. You can archive by sending an email, or you can upload the backup file by FTP. And this has to be done from time to time, say once a week or once a day even. For more complicated ones, the regular for the ones with more users on it, maybe you need a daily backup. So you can schedule a backup automatically by writing a script. So in the first part of script, we are just printing on the console, running system backup. Then in the next command, system backup, this is the command actually, okay? Save name is equal to reg backup. That is the name of the file that we are saving it, right? Then we again print on the console that system is backed up successfully. And finally, we use the tool email to send that particular backup file to a certain mail address. Okay? So this is the just sending the backup, doing the backup and sending it. Now we have to schedule it, right? The scheduling is done by system scheduler. Here is the command, system scheduler add name daily backup. Interval is 24 hours. That means every day it will make a backup of the system and send it to the given email address. Okay? Right. See, on event is the script that it actually runs. So system script run STS backup. This is the name of the particular script. Now, another example is changing gateway to backup interface. Now, here in this example, we are using both of the gateways that we're using are automatically added. That means they are dynamic gateways. They are dynamic routes. They are done by either a DHCP client or a PPPoE client. So in this case, directly disabling in the IP routes menu will not work, as some of you will know. So what we have done is we have just increased the distance of each default route to make them unavailable. That is, make them static, not active. Okay? So here in the first part, we set default route distance of the DHCP client as 5. Okay? So the other one is by default 0. Right? Say the other one is PPPoE. So the PPPoE one is currently 0. So all traffic will go through the PPPoE interface once we run this script. Okay? Now see, another command we have over here is to send an SMS to a certain number that the gateway has been changed. Now this is very useful because many a times you need to be informed of what's going on and off in your network. So you can give here your own number and send a message using a 3G or 4G modem and send a message to your own number that the gateway has been changed to 3G, right? So changing back, how do we change back? We do the same thing. We set the DHCP client set 0, default route distance is 0. So now it's back. The LAN gateway is now active, okay? So again, we send a SMS to the phone number and message is gateway changed to LAN. Right. Now advanced scripting. Now this was the basic scripting and most of us have done some of basic scriptings. We have copied and pasted them. But we need to understand the advanced scripts that are there in the system. There are many scripts available in the MikroTik scripting, the repository actually. You have a website for that. And advanced scripting starts with the first part of the advanced scripting is using loops. Loops are of 3 kinds. First is the do-while loop. Do-while does a set of commands while a condition is met, or the other way around, okay? So if the do is in front and the while is back, so the commands will be run at least one time, right? But if we reverse the direction, that is while some conditions, do some commands. So first it will check for the conditions and only then if the conditions are true, it will execute the commands, okay? So it can be used in both ways. Next, we have a very common loop, the for loop. It's present in almost all programming languages. For, what it does is it repeats the loop for integer, the first integer to the second integer. Okay? So this variable can be anything for I from 1 to say 10. I want a job repeated 10 times. I want a set of commands executed 10 times. So my loop will be for I is equal to 1 to 10. Step, what is the step? Step normally is 1. So from 1 to 10, it will take 1 step each, okay? If you want to take the steps in even numbers, then 2. So it will skip 1, it will do 1 and then skip 2 and then again do 3. So here the steps and finally whatever commands you want to execute, okay? And finally we have another one for each. So say you have a number of lists in your IP address list and you want a command run for each of them, okay? So if the list in number of 5, the command will be run 5 times. So what you do is you somehow write a script, I'll go to that later on, and check the number of entries you have. And for each variable, that is the number of entries, it will execute a command. Okay? So this can be another variable, a string, or an array. Okay? Then we have our system parameters. Now, often we require system parameters to do many jobs. Like we need the system times, we need the system date, we need the CPU load, etc., etc. So various system parameters can be got through these commands. System identity, it will get you the name of the router that you have in /system identity. So :global system identity, this is the variable name. And this is the command. So we have put it in the third brackets because we are executing a command within another command. Okay? So /system identity is actually put in the third brackets. Okay? Then we have system clock. Here you will get the date and the time if you want. And finally, you can get the CPU load, and there are more functions that you can find easily. Okay. Functions. Functions can be called in a script. Now what are functions? Functions are used to make repetitive jobs easier. That is, doing the same task over and over again. So say in 5 scripts, you need the time and date stamp. Okay? So why write it again and again? Why write the commands again and again? So what you do is you create a function called, say, time date stamp, and put these commands, the first one, the system identity or the system clock, 2 of them into it, and you can call that function in any script you want. Okay? So you don't have to repeat these commands for each and every script, right? This is an example, global, that is the function, scope of the function. Like a variable, a function also has a scope. So a local function can be only called in a particular script. So generally we define global functions. So global, myfunc do returns something. The return command will actually return a set of values executed from it. So here it will return the value of a plus b, the sum of a plus b. And we can put it. The output will be 8. See, the $A and $B are actually taken from this. A is equal to something and B is equal to something. So when we use the function command, we have to give the argument values. That is the value of the variables inside it. Okay. Now we have more commands in advanced scripting. A very useful one is resolve. It returns the IP address resolution for a DNS lookup. We have an example for this resolve command. It's very useful where you want to know, if you have the DNS name and you want to know which IP it is actually pointing to, you can type resolve and it will give you the IP address. Okay. Then you have find. If you want to say parse a log or parse through a list, go through a list and find something, find will find the first occurrence of the search term, and the command is like find, then string, then to find, that is where. So example, put interface find name ether. So this command will find all the Ethernet interface that you have, all that are named with ether, right? So if you want to set certain values to each and every interface, you can use the find command to find the ether ones, put it in a loop, and give the same, use the same values for all of them. Okay. Append is another command which appends data to a previous file. This is very important. Say you are putting some system values or some CPU load and voltage from time to time in a file. Okay. Appending a file means the first time you use it, you will get the system date and time. The next time you use it, the second time, the first value will still be there. That means it will just keep adding on in the file. Okay? Just keep adding on in the text or whatever file you want. Pick returns a specific section of a provided value, that is, say, pick string start end. So if I put pick A, B, C, D, E, then 1 and 3, then it will start from the first one. That means it will pick A, then go to the third one. That means it will pick A, B, and C, and leave out D and E. This is also important if you are trying to get some values from a string. Say you have a registration table entry. There is a long registration table entry, and you just want the TX, RX value from it, right? TX signal, RX signal values from it. So what you do is pick, and you know the number of characters. So place the character, and you can get the exact TX and RX value of that particular client, right? Client entry. Okay. And another one is get. Get is just ID, parameter, and value. This is to get various parameters from your various system properties, right? So say get ether1 MTU, right? You can find it out from using this get command. More commands are there. For example, beep, the first one makes a beep sound. Delay creates a delay of mentioned millisecond or second before executing the next command, right? So first one, then there is a first command, then there is a delay of 10 seconds, then there is the next command. This is also very useful. And len returns the number of characters in a string or a variable or even an array. Type of is the data type of the variable. See, there are multiple types of variable, as I've mentioned before. There can be arrays, there can be strings, there can be integers, there can be IP addresses. So len will, type of will actually get the data type of the variable. Then we have the time, that is get the system time, execute a script in the background. And environment is where you declare the global variables and check the value of them. Okay, we have more: set, parse, etc., etc. Error, very important. Error is a very interesting functionality where you can actually execute a set of commands if there are any errors in the script. So if you are doubtful of executing a command, say when you are executing something and it returns an error, the script will stop in the middle. So what we can do is put it in a do and while, right? And then on error, we can put a different set of commands. Say we can print there is an error in the script, okay? Or we can go to the next step of the script without doing any harm, right? Without stopping it actually. So example of a loop, now I'll give you some advanced scripting examples. An example of a loop is deleting all the received messages from the inbox. So you have a SMS inbox in your router where when you receive the SMSs, you can keep, there is a maximum value of it. I think about 15 SMS can be stored in it. So if you want, if you are receiving messages from time to time, sometimes you need your inbox cleared. So it can be done using a loop. See, local SMS count is a variable declared. We are setting the SMS count. How? We are checking it out. See, in the sub command tool SMS inbox print count only. That means it will only give you the number of SMSs that are there in the inbox. Now what I'll do, I'll declare a local variable that is I, which will be set to 1, and finally we'll start a loop. Forget the text.log. We'll start a for loop from j is from I, that is 1, to SMS count. That means say you have 10 SMSs. So the loop will go from 1 to 10 times. And each time it will remove the number 0, the top one SMS from it. So it will remove all the SMSs one by one. Okay? Another example which uses some loop and also many other things is blocking websites using DNS address. Now the latest version I think has the option of MikroTik router OS has the option of entering DNS names in the IP address lists and the IP firewall rules, but still it's useful. You can actually create the address list. In this example, we have to create the address list first. So IP firewall address list, add address. We are keeping the address list when we are creating it. We are keeping it as 0.0.0.0. Okay? And we are giving a comment on what the host name we are looking for. Say www.blinknet.com. And we are naming the list as host_blinknet. Then we are creating a filter rule. In the filter, in the chain forward, the destination address loop list, that is all the addresses contained in the list host_blinknet will be dropped or blocked. Okay, action is drop. Now we are going for the script. Then so in the script we are defining the variables and then we are looping through each entry in the address list. So look at this comment. If the comment was not there, it will be difficult for you to understand what we are actually trying to do. So always comment in your script. So for each I in IP firewall address list, fine. Okay? So each number of address list entries are there. The command will be executed. Do set list pick IP firewall address get $I list 05. That means it will get the number of list that are the addresses that are there. And for each list which contains the host in it, the word host in it, it will execute a set of commands. What will it do? It will set the comment in a variable, then it will change the IP address, and how to change the IP address? It will resolve the comment. That means we have wrote www.blinknet.com in the comment, right? So this part, it will look for the comment, okay? Resolve what is written in the comment. That means it will resolve www.blinknet.com. So it will get an IP and put the IP in the address list, okay? So we are just entering the DNS names in the comments and we are getting those sites blocked, okay? Another example is fetching system information. This is very easy. Setting parameters to variables. So I have declared one variable for each parameter, that is local CPU load, uptime, version, and then I have initialized the value by taking from the resource, system resource, get CPU load. So you have used the get command over here for getting parameters from the system also. And then finally, we are displaying in console. So each time we are so here where we are putting, we are actually displaying the whole, all of the information that we have fetched, that is the router name, uptime, CPU load, version, free memory, CPU frequency, etc. in the console. And finally, we can also SMS it using the SMS tool to any number you want. Okay? Right. So what can be achieved by using scripts? It's only limited to your imagination, because you can have automated system monitoring, you can have advanced load balancing, then you can have extended functionality, like you can have DDNS using a script, right? And we can ease our repetitive jobs, that is configuring all routers one by one. Better use a script, one script to configure all of them at once. Okay? And we can do much more, only limited by our imagination, and a lot of resources are available in the web. So thank you for your attention. This is all I have with the old, and I think my brother will continue with something new with scripting and SMS. So if you have any questions, please. So most of you are bored by now and looking and just wondering where the drinks that were promised are. They will be here in a moment. Don't worry. So, no questions? Yeah, please. Which is the? Compatible is SMS modem. Actually, there are a lot of compatible SMS modems available in India. But the problem is that the problem is with the setting. Okay, so if you want any detail about the compatible modems, and you can have a list of them in MikroTik, I think. But most of them are compatible, but there is a setting. You have to actually disable the autoplay. You see, whenever you enter the modem in the system, there is an autoplay. You have to disable it. So, yeah. Yeah, actually what happens is that I tried this, you can actually make all modems compatible, but then you have to enter the modem using hyperterminal. Then you have to use modem specific commands. Okay, so that is a very critical thing to explain to you right now. Yeah. Actually, what you need to do is you need to go to the hardware vendors, specific hardware vendor pages, and they have the data sheets over there. In the data sheets, the commands are mentioned actually. Mode command. I can give you a list of compatible modems which you can just buy. I think the Tata Photon Plus, that one works. Okay. Then we have some Vodafone modems also. I'll tell you separately later on. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, thank you for your attention. Have a good evening.
Hello, I'm Shotrik Gupta, and today I'm gonna give a presentation on router management with SMS. So we all know we have a tool called SMS in the router OS, but most of us, while setting it up, face a lot of problems. So I'm gonna talk about it. So firstly, what is a router management?